Well, we've got a guest today. We usually do at this time of the day. And our guest, I'm very excited to introduce, is Nick Hagen. Nick happens to farm in East Grand Forks, Minnesota, and he's got a lot going on. Nick, let's just start with the farm first, shall we? Tell us a little bit about your operation.
Well, thank you for having me today. It's an honor to be on this program. I love that there's a ag and weather centered program on the radio. We finally have found ourselves in prime time here. So we farm in East Grand Forks, and I guess I grew up, on the farm. It's always been a part of my life, but I moved away for college and kind of came back to it after a break of a number of years. And so in a way, it's been still a new experience for me. Even though I'm now almost 10 years into my career, I still feel like a beginning farmer in many ways.
And Nick,
it's a learning experience every single year.
Right. And Nick, I mean, how proud are you that this is this is fifth generation farming? I think I was reading your great grandpa came and from Norway and settled up in East Grand Forks. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That played a role in my decision to farm. Actually, it just seemed like I wasn't comfortable being the one to, let it go. So it was actually my great grandfather. In 1876, he settled where we are now, and we're keeping the ball rolling here, coming up on 150 years.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, was it a difficult decision because you were at a pretty prestigious musical school in New York City, and was it difficult decision to say, hey, you know what? Wow, I'm a talented musician, and I could go this route, or I could move back home and continue the tradition of working on the farm.
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways I think about it. One, sort of the cliche is that you grow up in a small town, and you're always looking over the horizon, and you're thinking, when can I get out of here? But it was actually because of my music that I never felt trapped, with the farm. I never felt like it was expected of me to take it over. And so I was always going to become a musician, and so I was allowed to follow that path. And so I really had a clear head when the opportunity was presented to me to take over the farm, or begin taking over the farm. It's definitely something that doesn't happen overnight. But my dad, he didn't have anybody else that was going to be taking it over. And, it seemed like he was probably ready to move on to sort of the next transitional phase for himself. And it was the time. And so then the other way I look at it is the decision was almost made for me, because at that time I was dating my now wife, Molly, and she said, "Oh my gosh, a farm, that sounds amazing. We'll be walking in these, blueberry patches, and it'll be this, just idyllic, wonderful thing. Let's go there." And so she kind of pulled me along with her to my family's farm.
That's an awesome story. Love it.
So,
yeah,
as a farm kid,
she learned. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say.
No,
she learned.
No, go ahead, Nick.
Pretty quickly. We moved, in the fall of the year, and so it was a beautiful time of year. But then winter set in, and things got real fast.
Wow.
But she's still here, and here to stay. So we're happy.
Awesome.
Oh, that's super good.
I'm sure you farmed with your dad when you were growing up, and now you're working with your dad, running the farm. Couple questions. What do you farm in particular, and what do you find? What's the hardest part of farming for you?
Okay, well, we farm sugar beets and wheat.
And we also have edible beans on our ground every third year that we rent out to a neighbor. And so it's a 3-crop rotation on our land. And as far as the most difficult part, I suppose it's trying to keep all the plates spinning. I guess my history as a musician really conditioned me to aim for perfection. And it was all based on repetition and, preparation and just sharpening that, that sword, so to speak. And farming, you just get left in the dust if you were, trying to aim for perfection. Obviously, Mother Nature has her own ideas about what she wants to do on any given day. And also there's just not time to focus on any one element of farming. You just are an adequate, sort of just the quintessential jack of all trades.
What part of farming do you like the most?
I would actually say, to turn that on its head, I would say that I probably enjoy that element of it the most. I really do find that it piques my curiosity in many ways to learn about machinery or accounting or obviously field work and administrative things even is things that I find interesting in small doses, and so that's what you get in farming, to be sure.
Awesome.
Nick, we have so many great companies and agencies around the area that deal a lot with agriculture, whether it's precision spraying or different applications and other data set companies. Do you take advantage of any of those companies? Yesterday we had Sarah Levis was our guest host yesterday, and she works for, I believe it was GK Technologies, and what she does in particular is she takes a lot of satellite data and compares it to what the crop looks like based on how much light it's taking, and then she provides that data back to the farmers so they can get like a prescription for their lots on how much to fertilizer or whatever it is that you're spraying on there. Do you utilize anything like that?
We are actually a long time GK customer. We certainly are only scratching the surface, though, of what is out there and what's possible. I was heartened to see, actually, I was reading an article about the this CES, I think it is, conference in basically, international conference displaying, the latest and greatest in technology. And it really was focusing on agriculture this year. And so I think John Deere was rolling out some of their autonomous tractors and whatnot. So, the secret's out, that agriculture is a place of great innovation. And I definitely would admit that I'm playing catch up in that world. But, it definitely gives me a lot of hope for the future. And, just looking back at our farm's history too, if I think about what each generation could, really be said to have brought to the farm, there's just been different, revolutions, whether it was, chemical or, mechanical or different things of that nature. And certainly technology, computerized technology, I think will be the mark that I probably have to leave on this farm if it's going to stay modern and viable.
Well, I think
Nick,
it's
you
just
hit
really
on such
fascinating.
a great point.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Go ahead,
just
Bridget.
a sec, Justin, but Nick had a great point there when it came. He said CES. That was the Consumer Electronics Show that was held in Las Vegas in early January. And the showcase was, in fact, John Deere. Their chief technology officer, their CTO, launched several new items that they talked about. One was an electric backhoe, which was going to be new. That would be different for lower emissions in construction situations. But then on the farm, they brought out, I think it was called Exact Shot. And so if you are planting and you're using fertilizer, and just what Sarah said yesterday and Nick referenced today, you want to apply the exact amount of fertilizer that you need. Most of the time when you're putting your starter fertilizers down, you're going down the entire furrow. This would give you the shot of fertilizer exactly where it goes with the seed. There's another company that's done some of that work in the past. John Deere says this could cut your fertilizer rates by about 60% at that point. So like Nick said, some of these new technologies really bringing forward what's going on the farm and what's going to make them viable going down the road. So that's excellent.
Yeah, and you know,
really is.
Progress is inevitable, just as time moves on. And so, I think to the future, and if one of my children decide to farm someday, what they'll be getting into, it's really, something to think about.
Right. And I just think it's such a far leap that we've come over the last, let's just say, since the mid to late 1800s, when your great-grandfather or great-great-grandfather started the farm up there in East Grand Forks, probably going from hand plowing and hand harvesting to now we have precision spraying, precision seeding, all these different application uses. You can utilize satellite data to determine when your plants are emerging across the whole area and how healthy they are from space. I mean, that alone is just mind-boggling to me. But I wanted to know, because we're kind of on this topic with technology, do you use, and you had just mentioned you're just touching the surface to incorporating some of this with GK and other entities maybe that you work alongside with, but do you do anything with drones or drone application or surveying across your land, or do you have any plans of maybe trying to see if that's something you might want to use in the future?
Well, I will say there are drones flying above our farm many days of the year, but it has absolutely nothing to do with my operation. They're usually getting footage for the TV show.
So that's a pretty big question right there. Does the TV show interfere with the farm, or is it kind of complimentary when the film crew shows up?
At the best of times, it's actually a fairly symbiotic relationship. They quickly learned that it's not as easy as scheduling me for noon on Wednesday to come and film a meal scene. So they've learned to be very flexible with me, and I've learned to kind of let down my guard a little bit as well. The first season that they came to film this cooking show, they wanted they call it B-roll, but they wanted some B-roll of the farm and different things. And so, okay, Nick, can we get you driving your tractor, whatever? And so I ran, over to the shop and I power washed it. I scrubbed it down. I mean, that thing was sparkling. And I quickly realized I just wasn't going to be able to pretend for very long. That was going to be a full-time job. So they get me as I am. I'll just roll out of the tractor and, I've got my coveralls on and, a little grease on my face, and they haven't said boo. So I guess we just kind of roll with it.
We had an email question there for you, Nick, and one of our listeners was wondering if there was any experience or knowledge that you took from Juilliard into the farm business.
Yeah, I have to say I've spent the last 10 years trying to figure out how to apply my trombone degree to sugar beets, and I'm still coming up a little bit short. So, I'm definitely one to try to, cross-pollinate and see and learn lessons and apply them, elsewhere. And so, kind of like I had referenced before, the life of a musician is so focused on just a certain sort of concept of performance where you're really aiming to be that sharp edge of the spear. And maybe with agriculture, as we're talking about, with the adoption of some of these technologies, our spear will be getting a little sharper, just as time goes on. But I would say it was there's probably less crossover than I probably would wish, or having spent all those years. But music still plays a role in my life, and when the snow's on the ground, my trombone comes out of the closet for a few months.
That's great. But boy, Nick, I mean, you said, twirling plates, and you've got a lot going on. Not only do you farm and great musician, but you also own your own restaurant up there as well. I mean, that's just a lot to be. That's a lot on one plate for sure. How's the restaurant going? Because you guys just recently opened that up as well, didn't you?
Yes, we've had a great run so far. Every day has presented its own lessons, and we're just always trying to tweak and improve. I will say that actually the restaurant business does have a lot of benefit for me as a farmer. It is, my dad is one of the things that he really focuses on just on a daily basis and really tries to communicate to me is the value of understanding your cost of production. And he basically will say, that's the only thing that matters, your cost of production. And so I can tell you, in the restaurant industry, same concept applies, just understanding your cost of production. And so I feel like it in a way, it's going to actually make me a better farmer because you just really understand, just the variability of labor costs and different things. So much with farming on a 150-year-old farm, I'm not making radical changes, at this point. It's incremental each year. You don't stray too much from the norm because the norm is the norm for a reason. It's been established over time. And so for the restaurant world, trying to establish what our norms are. And so it's kind of been exciting, actually. It's just very new, very fresh. And I mean, I can't say it's not delicious as well. I'm definitely the chief taste tester in the house.
Great.
Oh, that's great. I live up in Grand Forks, so I've crossed the street over there a handful of times. I haven't had a chance to eat yet there, but it seems like it's hopping from the outside. And I've done a lot of years in kitchens myself before I graduated from school to do meteorology. But going back to the restaurant, talk about your new restaurant that did open up in East Grand Forks. Are you using any or trying to be as local as you can be when it comes to the products that you're using or sourcing from? Or are you kind of 50-50? How does that kind of look?
Absolutely. No, that's been something that we, from day one, we're focused on trying to do as much as we can. And there's definitely, a reality to the fact that we only grow crops here, a half a year. And so trying to, pick your battles. But we definitely are happy to have been able to partner with a number of, local growers. And the list is growing, over time. We get some products from the Grand Forks area, from, the Fargo area, basically the Red River Valley, and some of our, meat products as well. And really valuing that. And our concept with the restaurant is really celebrating East Grand Forks, celebrating the Red River Valley. We're not, we'd be a little bit of an odd fit in any other place. We're really trying to be an East Grand Forks restaurant. And so that is one major element of that is celebrating what we do here, which is grow, crops. So that's, and I think, but like the reality of it is too, just availability, so sometimes it's, you're trying to find the diamonds in the rough and so forth. But yeah, it's been a rewarding process so far.
Well, not that you don't have enough things going on, but just based on the fact that I really enjoy watching Girl Meets Farm on Sunday mornings on the Food Network, you can always take and make your millions on chicken ranching, considering egg prices these days, right? Just grow the flock, get some more eggs out there, Nick, start more production, right?
do you know, we have 2 chickens left, and I've made up my mind that we're just going to let that, let that boat go down the river when they pass. But then this egg thing happens, and I'm kicking myself. So we're right there with the rest of you guys having to buy eggs at the store, and maybe when our daughters are old enough to be in 4-H or something, we can give them a little responsibility there again.
That will be excellent. And so, Nick, one last question for me, and I was going to ask, when you applied to Juilliard, do you feel that all of that iron farm experience gave you a little bit of an advantage in being able to get into such a prestigious music school?
I definitely credit my upbringing on a farm in a rural setting with my path to Juilliard. I know that it's definitely unconventional. And most of the people there, the vast majority are from, major metropolitan areas where there's access to, music education, resources that, you may not have in such plentiful supply here. But, I had tremendous teachers here. I drove to Fargo every single week to have a lesson with Dr. Kyle Mack at NDSU. And just finding these resources locally. And then I think my greatest advantage was I didn't know where the finish line was. I didn't have anybody to compare myself to. And so I just assumed that, it was to get to Juilliard, to get to New York would be so impossible, so I just aimed my sights so high that I almost think that I use that to my advantage, where I was kind of like almost running from my own shadow.
That's a huge advantage, and you've gotten so much from it.
And Nick,
go ahead, Dean.
Nick, you said you spin a lot of plates. If you want to spin another one, I'll tell you what. And we were messaging each other behind the scenes here. You have a great set of pipes. You could make some more money doing voiceover work for radio. Wow. Just in case,
well,
in case you get bored.
You have my number, so I'm happy. Why not? Why not?
Right.
Right. Keep those things going. So the folks
Yeah.
we've been visiting with Nick Hagen, Nick Farms in East Grand Forks, Minnesota, also has a side role, if you will, on the Food Network show, Girl Meets Farm, because his wife is Molly Yeh, who's the principal in that show. And Nick, what things would you like people to know? Where can they find you, your restaurant, etc., if they want to learn more?
Well, until April rolls around, I will be happy to open the door for anyone that wants to come into our restaurant, Bernie's. That's in downtown East Grand Forks, and actually kind of the news that we hope to break in the next coming days and weeks is our opening for dinner. So we're working toward that. At this point, we're just open through lunch, and so hopefully at some point in February we'll be open for dinner. So keep an eye out for that. And I just want to thank you guys for having me on, and it's been a lot of fun to listen to your show. I'm a longtime WDAY listener. You get a lot of radio time in the tractor, and so it's been a pleasure to chat with you all.